Welcome! This is my review of Transformers Universe Ultra Class Silverbolt. So, first thing I will point out, the jet mode does have landing gear, 2 at the back and 1 at front. The one here at the front is really loose, so if I try to roll it, what happens is it collapses in on itself. So it just may be mine, but it's rather loose. But you got a total of 3 landing gear. And just while we're looking back here, you can see what's going to happen in the transformation for robot mode. Pretty obvious, right? But despite the fact that this is a simplistic transformer, it still is a lot of fun, and I do like it a lot. Now, it does have some light features and sounds. There's the speaker in there. You can see it lights up back there. And as well up front for the weapon sound. And it has like a takeoff sound. So again, so that's all you have for lights and sounds, which is pretty cool. The only thing that's really movable on this jet mode is you have these little winglets here. They move like so. And you do have a gun feature here. It's mounted underneath the front section of the jet mode. I'll go ahead and take this off because it's going to become the weapon for robot mode. Basically, you can see what happens. You press the button and the missile fires off. So we'll put this to the side for now, and let's go ahead and take a look at the transformation. So the first step in the transformation is you want to grab onto the front section of the jet, and you're going to fold it back, and it kind of tabs into place right there. And then you want to come to the underside of the plane, and you'll see the arms are actually tabbed into the side. As you can see, there's a tab and a slot there. Untab the arms and bring out the hands. And then you want to rotate the arms like so. And you've got the arms done. Legs, you simply separate here, pull down, and rotate around. Bring out the feet. Now the feet do have these heels here, as you can see right there, and also on the other side. And finally, for the dramatic head reveal, this is where the head's going to come out of. You can see here there's this big column of plastic you want to push up. And you can see the eyes flash and you hear the transformation sounds. Okay, so here is Silverbolt in robot mode. Now, as far as his size, I measured off camera, and if you measure up to the top of his head, it's a little over 8 inches. And if you count the tip up here, it's around 10 inches, just to give you an idea of the size. Now, I'll do a size comparison a little later in the review. But for now, let's go ahead and do a little 360 action here. And as you can see, he does have a lot of kibble on his back, and that does make him back heavy. But, you know, it doesn't really bother me because if you look at the Generation 1 Silverbolt toy, that's how Silverbolt was back in the 80s. So it doesn't really bother me. And you can see here, really nice figure. It does stand really well on your shelf as far as having a lot of shelf presence. And he's got his gun here, so he can actually hold it in his hand. And this gun is very reminiscent of the weapon for Generation 1 Silverbolt. So you got that that you can peg into either hand, like so. Looks pretty cool. Now, as far as articulation goes, his head does swivel, and here's a look at the head sculpt there. His shoulders are ratcheted shoulders, swivel at the bicep, bend at the elbow. There is no waist articulation. However, you do have ratcheted hips forward, back, and out to the side, as you can see there. Swivel at the hip, rather the thigh, and a bend at the knee. So, fairly basic articulation, and like I said, he is a bit back heavy, so you're kind of limited in how you can pose him. But, he has really good shelf presence. He looks good on a shelf because he's so tall. And one thing I noted about the robot mode is these covers here. These are actually the covers for the landing gear at the rear of the jet mode. And they kind of remind me of missile pods, like the covers for missile pods. Unfortunately, that's not the case. All they are, as you can see, are the landing gear. But you can kind of pretend that missiles come out of his chest here, maybe. It kind of looks like it, like he has missile pods here in his shoulder because of these covers. So that's kind of cool. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at a size comparison of this guy with some other Transformer toys. So final thoughts on Transformers Universe Ultra Class Silverbolt. Well, I'll start out with just a few potential negatives, and I say potential because they don't really bother me so much, but they may bother somebody else. The one negative, I guess, is the limited articulation. You got fairly basic articulation, and you can't really get the figure in robot mode into a whole lot of poses. Sure, he can stand there with his gun raised. He looks pretty good, but if you want to do anything beyond that, it's probably going to be really difficult. Which doesn't bother me. I think this guy looks great as he is, as you see him right now, just standing there with his gun. He has great shelf presence, looks great on a shelf, especially in robot mode. So that doesn't really bother me so much. The other kind of negative is the issue with robot mode. If you look on the undersides of the arms and the back of the legs, there's a big cavity there. I don't really tend to like cavities or spaces. I'd rather have that filled with like plastic. But in this case, I can understand why there is that space, because in terms of the arms, the hands themselves will fold up into the arms, and as for the legs, you saw during the transformation that the leg kind of collapses on itself, and you have to have that space or that cavity in order to accommodate the leg when you're folding it into, folding it back up for transformation into vehicle mode. So one things I really like about this figure are the paint apps. You've got some fantastic silver paint, gold paint. The head sculpt itself is really nicely detailed. Nice paint was applied to the actual face sculpt, which is really nice. And of course you have that big prominent red Autobot symbol on his chest, so really nice there. He does have a lot of back kibble, but like I said before, that doesn't really bother me because, it's the original Generation 1 Transformers Silverbolt had the same issue. I think it's a great homage to the original Generation 1 Silverbolt toy, so it's all good for me. So where can you buy this? Well, it came out in retail stores back in 2008. So your best bet is going to be eBay. You might find it at a discount store, or perhaps a hobby store or a specialty store. I think I paid around $20, which I think was the going retail for these Ultra Class figures. I could be wrong, it might have been $25, but thereabouts. You want to pay around $20 or less if you can. Alright, well, thanks for watching. This has been my review of Transformers Universe Ultra Class Silverbolt.